Hello and welcome to Your Career, where we look at the issues that face Australia's workforce and offer insights and advice to help you make the most of your working life. Today we'll gain an insight into the glamorous world of interior design and give you tips to survive your first day in a new job. But first, professional networking platform LinkedIn now boasts more than 250 million registered users worldwide. There are 4 million in Australia alone, meaning nearly every professional in the country has a profile. Research by careerbuilder.com revealed that 40% of recruiters now use social media tools like LinkedIn, Facebook or even Twitter to identify and screen job candidates. So how can social media help get you the job of your dreams? And how do you ensure that it doesn't backfire all over your career? Well, to tell you, we are joined by Barlett-Bragg, who's the Managing Director of social business consultancy Ripple Effect, and Lucas Partington, a consultant from global executive search firm the Mitchell Lake Group. Thanks so much for joining us today. Really appreciate it. And first of all, to you, I think the Ripple Effect probably is a pretty good picture of exactly how all of this works. Let's talk about, first of all, how social media can be used to build your profile as a professional.
Yeah, it's one of the most interesting new developments I think that we've got. It's a profoundly powerful tool if you use it appropriately, and I think that's where we need to really sort of step back as a career professional and understand what does appropriate mean in these new environments.
And Lucas, what about helping build your brand as well? Because that's also how we should be using social media.
Yeah, your personal brand is what people say about you in the room when you walk out, I guess. It's how you project yourself to the world, whether it's to get a date, get a new job, meet new friends. I think if you were to break it down, the easiest way to look at what a personal brand is your skills, your personality, what your core values are, bringing all those three together and how you communicate them.
And let's talk about the tools people can use. We all know about Facebook and Twitter, mostly in a social capacity, but I guess they also have professional elements to them as well. But LinkedIn is almost purely professional, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, LinkedIn is your online CV, and that's what it's there for, whereas the others, I think we're getting this blend of personal and business, and how do we manage that is interesting. But then likewise, there's a lot of other platforms more that go beyond that. Pinterest, for
example.
Pinterest, as an example, has really great, people are using it for visual CVs. Then there's all these communities. The creative industry has one as well, and all the creatives will be in that place. So it's kind of understanding what industry are you in and where's the most appropriate place to be online. And that's a challenge, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess I hadn't thought of that. If you're in a creative industry, it goes far beyond LinkedIn, doesn't it?
Yeah, exactly. There's a gorgeous example of the young student that did the Lego resume.
Yes.
And she did this fabulously creative Lego resume. Here I am, this is my characters. And then if you look at the LinkedIn profile, you kind of go, oh, well, that's a bit disappointing. It doesn't have the essence of who she is there.
So, Lucas, an emailed resume is no longer enough.
No, probably not. Social media now has allowed us to build our profiles and our networks quicker than ever before. It's really about having the right conversations, as Anne said, on the right platforms. LinkedIn is a platform I use all the time, and I read a lot of profiles every day. And it's surprising just how many people do get it wrong, I think, a lot of the time.
So what are some of the don'ts when it comes to LinkedIn?
Yeah, so don't cut and paste your CV and add it to LinkedIn. LinkedIn's a real opportunity for you to breathe life into your experience and your achievements, and highlight some more of those softer skills as well. So if you were to think about a checklist, probably the top three I would take away would be don't cut and paste your CV, write in the first person, stick to plain English as well, get to the point of what you're trying to get across, and avoid buzzwords. Don't be a self-appointed guru, I think is one of the classics. And be authentic, that would be the second one as well. And the third is, I can't stress how important a photo is on LinkedIn now as well.
Really?
In the sea of all the different candidates that we deal with, right from the senior executive end through to more junior levels, profiles that don't have a photo are difficult to see through all the noise of all the other candidates. When I look, I can associate someone's face with their skills, and that gives me a fuller package, I suppose.
Yeah. I think that's an interesting point, because social media is about having a conversation. It's not about just pushing information out there to sort of say, hi, I'm here, this is who I am. And if you don't put a photo up, you're really not wanting to say anything. You might as well have a bag on your head. And
should you get one taken professionally, or?
I think, as Lucas said, it's about authenticity. So if you have a nice shot that is done somewhere else, I don't think you need to worry about that, because it's who you are. And to sort of, these manufactured CVs that you see on LinkedIn, that sounds more like a press release. Don't cut it. They're just like, oh yeah, I've seen that before. So you've got to make that point of difference, is about how do I express myself as who I am.
So you avoid those buzzwords like self-starter or works well with others, or people that are
self-appointed guru. I'm a ninja at something.
A ninja, I saw that one the other day, actually, I think better to use action words that really describe what you've done and what you're best at.
Right.
So ones that I like are, delivered or managed or owned or innovated or created, rather than, peppering it too much with words that a lot of people who might be reading it don't understand.
Because LinkedIn now takes all sorts of different file types. So put up, use it like a portfolio. Don't just write the CV. You have to show me what you've done.
Yes,
absolutely.
That's a fantastic idea. And moving on from just social media's use as a CV or a platform for your CV, it's also a networking tool. We know that. Is there a certain etiquette attached to this in terms of who you should be requesting as a person to be linked to on LinkedIn? And if you're ignored, do you request again? I mean, what are the rules here?
There are no rules.
No, I think what you've got to remember is social media is no different from you walking up to someone in the street and handing them a CV and saying, look at my CV, I want a job, or sitting next to them randomly in a coffee shop and saying, can I join you for a coffee? It's really important to remember your manners online as well as offline. Where you can get through that sort of stigma of it being a cold call is by adding value. So really thinking about the reason you want to connect with that particular person, and thinking about where you can add value in that connection and build a two-way conversation. And that comes down to research.
I think that's the same. It's the research, because it's where's the right place for me to be? I want to be in this industry. LinkedIn doesn't cover all of them. And that's where you start looking at the other ones. Find out where the people are that you want to engage with. And then also, I think one of the things we're seeing, if you're looking for a job, it's not all online, it's also physically meeting. And there's sites like meetup.com that, if you look at the Sydney list, there's thousands of meetups where people like you or in your industry are getting together and talking about the issues. So you start to sort of build your network that way and reinforce it through the physical meetup. I think that's important to remember, that it amplifies your ability to make connections, but you need to consolidate them in the relationships.
Obviously, people can see your LinkedIn profile and have access to the people that you are linked to on that. Should you be worried if you're, for example, connecting with recruiters or people within your industry that could offer you a job? Perhaps your current employer might find that a little off-putting.
We always used to say if someone's updating their LinkedIn profile, because you get the notification, they must be looking for a job. But it's shifted now, because LinkedIn has developed and become more dynamic, and you participate in groups and you can share and do other things. So just updating your profile now is no longer that indication.
And companies and businesses are using LinkedIn themselves now a lot more proactively to build their own employer brands. And you might ask, what are people looking at? Which businesses are looking? They're all looking. They're actually hiring people in-house now to tactfully and in some cases aggressively go after talent, map talent, try and attract talent. But then on a more strategic level, they're using LinkedIn as a platform for them to tell prospective people who might want to join them who they are, and also listen into the conversations that are happening about their brand and about their company, so they can respond appropriately.
It's kind of scary when you think you go for a job and there's now this wealth of information online on YouTube, on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, that people can look up, unless you've got certain privacy settings there that people can look up. They can get a pretty good understanding of who you are and your past. Is it fair, though, that someone perhaps who had a big night out 10 years ago...
I don't think I'd be in a job
now
if that was the case. Look, in my career today, I have never had a customer or a client in the US, in the UK, in Australia, who has used a piece of social media to make a decision on a candidate that isn't professional. It's content that is out of context. But it does happen, and I've heard about it happening. So
let's talk about some of the horror stories. This is good.
Yeah. And you've got a few of these.
Give us a couple, Anne.
Well, I think one of the ones that I enjoyed the most was the girl that resigned or quit her job on YouTube. I think you might even have the YouTube of that. So she quit her job. It's quite a professional piece, and it went viral on YouTube, millions of hits. But the way the company then, because she wasn't holding back on the company, and you could also talk about the ethics of doing it like that, and then the company actually responded within a day, and their response was, she quit, we're hiring, and hey, we're a really great company. So it's a really great example of, wow, that could have gone really badly, but it worked
Pulled
out.
it back. Yeah, they turned it around.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
But it's a danger.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? And I guess we were saying perhaps it's not fair to judge someone on a bad photo taken on a night out 10 years ago, but if you've got someone who just a few weeks ago was tweeting negative things about their current employer or their then employer, that probably wouldn't reflect well.
Yeah, look, it's twofold to that. So have you got a leg to stand on, you know, in terms of if that happens? Look, if you're a person applying for a job or that company has approached you for a job and they make a decision on your candidacy based on something that isn't relevant, then that's unfair and you probably do have a leg to stand on. But the likelihood of you ever finding out that being the reason is highly unlikely. On the other hand, and what we're seeing happen more and more around these horror stories is actual employees not being sensible about the stuff that they're posting on a personal level as well as professional, and it actually misrepresenting or being detrimental to the brand that they work for, the organisation.
That line between, you know, you used to have your work life was over here and your personal life was there, that's just so blurred now. So managing that, you really have to think sensibly, and defamation online is still defamation. You can't just say whatever you like and think you're going to get away with it. But then what you do on the weekend and in your personal life, is that relevant to how well you do your job? And arguably it doesn't really matter. But if you step over the line into starting to sort of say things about people you work with or companies, now we've got a different situation.
Yeah. My mum always used to say, you know, think before you speak, and now it really is think before you type. And
yeah, it really
just go through that motion before you do.
And I would say, would I say that to them face to face?
Yeah.
And if I'm prepared to say it face to face, stand up there and do it, then yep, I'll send it.
All right, good ideas or good pointers there. Think before you type and think about whether you would say it face to face, because essentially you are, aren't you?
Yeah.
And understand your privacy settings across all the different platforms, because they're all different, but you can reach out directly to those platforms and find out.
All right, Anne and Lucas, thank you so much for joining us on the program.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
All right, and that was Anne Barlett-Bragg, who is the Managing Director of social business consultancy Ripple Effect, and also Lucas Partington, a consultant from global executive search firm, the Mitchell Lake Group. All right, we have to